the strongest zodiac saint, the man worshipped by millions, the hero everyone believed was untouchable, was trembling, unable to believe his own eyes. He says, "You're alive." Standing before him was the one man who should have been dead 20 years ago. The same man they betrayed. The same man they abandoned inside the Devil's Tower. The same monster they thought would never return. But against all odds, he survived. And now, with a smile on his face, he says, "I'm going to make every single one of you pay. This isn't just revenge. It's the return of humanity's strongest hunter." The 12 zodiacs were the peak of human strength, the ones chosen by the gods to protect humanity. But none of them wanted to eradicate the creatures since they would lose their privileges and fame. The plan was always to do just enough. But among the 12, there was someone with a different plan. Li Jian was by far the strongest, a combat addict who wanted to put an end to all of this. That's why when the group gathered for the hardest mission, the Crimson Eye, everyone trembled and said it was impossible. Aquarius fell to the ground, wetting her panty. Meanwhile, Li Jian faced the boss head-on and jumped into the attack asking for backup. But when he looked back, everyone was running away. With no way to distract the boss, he was forced to face it alone. And so the endless battle began. Li Jian didn't know the absurd number of creatures that existed there, and time kept passing more and more. While fighting, he wondered if anyone would really come back, not even to check whether he had died or not. With no options, he pushed forward until after 2 decades trapped in the hardest dungeon and even losing an arm, he finally reached the last mob. But after finishing it off, the entire place began to collapse. Being buried alive, he thought this was a bitter end. All those who betrayed him were probably living a perfect life while he was going to die there abandoned. With that, Li Jian's life comes to an end. The city has been ruined by calamities. 2 young men are running for their lives. One yells, "Run! Didn't I tell you not to go that way?" The other snaps back, "How was I supposed to know? Today was supposed to be safe. How could I guess a high-level calamity would show up?" A horned dog-like monster and several others chase after them. One of the boys starts crying, "We're screwed. The fortune teller said I'd meet an unbelievable monster today. I should have listened." Then one of the beasts jumps in and lands right between them, forcing them to scatter. One boy falls to the ground in tears, while the other gets surrounded and says, "Damn it. If Ligam had survived the Devil's Tower, something like this wouldn't be a problem." He looks toward the Devil's Tower, the same tower Ligam entered long ago with the 12 saints. Then its gates begin to open and a huge light appears before them. In an instant, that light covers everything and explodes across the area. The 2 boys shield themselves from the blast. A little later, the damage from the tower's explosion is clear. "Hey, what just happened?" "I don't know, Jimmy." There's a human coming out of the collapsing tower. A human. They stare in disbelief. Far off in the wreckage, a lone figure stands in the dust. "How dare those bastards stab me in the back and throw me into a trap? You're all dead. I'm coming for every last one of you." Amid the rubble, the 2 boys lie half-buried wondering what happened and who that person is. Then one of the dog-like monsters gets crushed by our protagonist. He stomps its head in and the boys can't believe those are orange-class calamities, the kind even high-rank awakened ones struggle to beat. To him, they're nothing, more like ants than monsters. Ligam grabs the rest of them with a grin, standing over the ones he already defeated. Then he glances to the side and vanishes in the same instant. Suddenly, he's right in front of the boys, leaving them frozen in shock. They stumble back screaming, "Wait, wait. Why are you attacking us? Please let us go." Ligam pauses. "Wait, you're humans? Good. Then the path is clear now, right?" The 2 can only breathe in relief. "Who were saved? Did you see that guy come out of the tower? Isn't that insane?" The other shakes his head. "What are you talking about? Nobody can come out of that tower alive. Maybe some accident happened and he ended up here when the tower collapsed." But while they were saying that, a shadow rose behind them. Both of them froze. Another monster was staring right at them. Our protagonist just turned toward it completely calm. One of them panicked. "No way, that's the wolf boss. Jung, run." Meanwhile, he kept looking at the beast like it was nothing. Then the monster started building energy in its mouth. A second later, it fired a huge blast straight at them. The 2 boys could only brace themselves. The blast tore through everything in its path. After a while, when it finally stopped, they looked around in shock. Did he just protect us? Our protagonist cursed under his breath, then jumped forward and slammed a hand down on the wolf boss. "You're just a filthy mutt." He forced it down and threw a punch, and the impact alone crushed the wolf boss completely. The 2 young men could only stare. Then our protagonist landed with a grin, and the area around them was left in ruins. The boss already beaten, he stood there calmly, looking at the 2 boys while they thanked God for still being alive. Now they really thought it was over. Then he called out, "Hey, you 2. They jumped and answered at once. "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go buy me some food. I'm starving." They just stared at him, and he looked a little awkward. "Oh, and clothes too. I need something new to wear." The scene shifts, and now they're inside a small shop, while our protagonist tears through plate after plate of food. The boys are stunned by the bill. He ate the same as spending 10,000 reis, enough food for 120 people. When they say they didn't have much money, he casually says he held back. Looking at the pile of empty dishes, that holding back was insane. One of them blurts out, "What do you mean held back?" He answers, "Weren't you the ones who said you'd pay for whatever I wanted after I saved your lives?" Then he adds, "Bring me another plate of." They cut him off in panic, saying they don't have money to pay for more. Then one of them asks, "Jung, what are you? A disciple? A divine captain? And what were you doing near the tower? He replies, what do you mean? I just came out of the tower, then I ran into you too. They stare at him. You came out of the tower? But he brushes past that. Forget it. There's something I want to ask you. You look normal, so can I feel magic power coming from you? One of them explains that he's a disciple. Then they ask if our protagonist is one too. Someone who awakened through a god's blessing. Hearing that, he scoffs. Those trash gods? Why would I be grateful to those bastards? But then he pauses. He catches his reflection in a spoon and goes still in shock. A mirror. Give me a mirror now. A worker points one out, and he rushes over so fast he knocks everything off the table. He starts pulling off his shirt and stares at his own face. Wait, what? My whole body recovered? He keeps staring at his reflection in disbelief, and he remembers how ruined he was inside the tower, covered in scars, missing flesh, half his head gone. Those wounds should have been almost impossible to heal, not without risking his power. But now he notices something else. His left arm is back. And what's this strange mark? On his hand, there's a circular snake symbol. Suddenly, the mark starts glowing stronger and a wave of pain hits him so hard that his veins bulge as he grabs his arm. Then system windows begin appearing. You experienced death. You obtained an impossible achievement. Your previous stats will be transferred to your new body. All tower achievements will be converted into XP. You acquired a divine skill. All unique skills and traits from your past life have been inherited and converted. You can now use the power of Ophiuchus. A snake symbol appears behind our protagonist while the pain keeps tearing through him. Then all of a sudden his consciousness starts drifting away to somewhere else. He sees his spiritual sea floating among countless galaxies, and in front of him is a giant snake watching him. Our protagonist slowly reaches out his hand, and when he touches it, a light begins shining from both of them. Then suddenly he's back in the diner asking himself, what just happened? One of the boys rushes over. Ryung, are you okay? Just for context, Ryung seems to be the name they're calling our protagonist, but his real name is Ligong. Still shaken, he asks, what? You didn't see that snake just now? They look confused. What are you talking about? We didn't see any snake. All we saw was you stand up, start taking off your clothes, and stare at yourself in the mirror. Then you grabbed your fist and started screaming like a crazy person. So that means other people can't see it. As he stares at his hand thinking that over, the boys just keep watching him thinking he gets weirder the longer they look. Then our protagonist feels that energy again and another system window appears. You have become the owner of Ophiuchus. More windows pop up in front of him. Ligong, 13th seat of the gods, owner of the seat of Ophiuchus, awakened name, the man who crushes all creation. More windows explain his abilities, and one of them says he gained F-rank super regeneration. Any damage to your body will be restored. Your body has been renewed. A temporary penalty applies. Physical ability reduced by 50%. Time remaining 1032 hours. So his physical change came from that skill. He's never heard of anything like this from the other saints. On top of that, he can't feel any god's presence. No matter what happened, his body is healed now. So that part isn't bad. The real question is what he should do next. Then he remembers the men who pushed him away and left him there to die against the boss. Now he only wants one thing, to get rid of every saint who stabbed him in the back. Just thinking about what he'll do to those bastards makes him excited. The boy watching him gets scared seeing that look on his face. Then the scene changes to the side of the explosion where people are taking pictures while medics and onlookers crowd around. Someone asks, is it true the unbreakable Devil's Tower collapsed? Another answers, yeah, the whole world's going to lose its mind over this. That tower was a symbol of this place. Then they wonder if this was the work of Legong's followers or maybe disciples who hate other disciples. Someone points at the monsters nearby. Even high-rank saints would struggle against beasts like those. So, who could have killed all of them and destroyed the Devil's Tower? Then someone asks, do you think Legong survived and came back? The answer is simple, they don't know, but the whole thing feels wrong. After that, the scene shifts to a building where a large group is gathered for a press conference. Cameras flash as reporters shout questions. Yang Wei, please tell us what you think happened. Do you believe there's any chance Legong survived? The heavyset man from the beginning of the story stays quiet, only watching everyone around him. His name is Yang Wei, the saint of the Aries constellation. All he says is, I have no comment. Then he turns and leaves looking uneasy while the crowd keeps shouting for answer. What do you mean you have no comment? The next scene jumps to his car where he starts smashing things in anger. Damn it! Legong, 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 Legong. Everyone wants to know about that bastard. How many times have I heard his name just today? Then he wonders if Legong might really be alive. He remembers our protagonist's broken body from the past and asks himself if he could have survived 20 years inside that tower. No, that should be impossible. There should have been thousands of demonic beasts in there, and every one of them was high rank. It was already a miracle they got out without him learning they killed the Scarlet Horus. So, how could he possibly survive in a place like that? His body had already been badly damaged by the backlash of his own powers. And unlike them, he never had the god's protection. But then, what if he really did come back to life? He tries to stop thinking about it. But if Ligong truly returned, then everything is over. The scene cuts back to our protagonist checking a phone. Just like I thought, I'll start by crushing that bastard first. Then the story moves to an airport. As one of the planes finishes landing, a man steps off and someone greets him. Welcome. It's an honor to meet one of the 12 constellations, Mr. Hugo Otters. He's the blonde guy from the beginning of the story, the one who ate fried chicken with our protagonist. He's dressed in full style here. And once again, we're told that he is the Sagittarius constellation, Hugo Otters. He asks, "Where's the Prime Minister?" They answer, "He's waiting at his residence. Your car is ready over there." "All right then, let's go." People nearby whisper about how majestic he looks. To them, that's what a true chosen one looks like. Once he's inside the car, Hugo sits there thinking. Then he glances over and sees his phone vibrating. It's those reporters again. I can't believe people are still spreading stories that Li Gong is alive. Then he notices an unknown number. It's already been more than 20 years. He picks up the phone, turns it over, and keeps thinking. He remembers what they told him before. "You're going to die tomorrow." Then he remembers our protagonist smiling with his face all messed up saying, "Taisuke, why do you have so little faith in me? When we attacked the Devil's Tower, I left the tower and fought the disaster monsters outside at Li Gong's request. I hoped my premonition was wrong and that Jiwoo would come back safely. But then he showed up badly injured asking what happened to him. The saints who entered the tower with the protagonist abandoned him and came back with only the head of the Scarlet Eyes. Because that feat was accepted, the 12 saints, including me, were praised as heroes and gained power from it. Later in the hospital, he still couldn't accept that Jiwoo was dead. So he kept asking people to search for him. But this greedy bastard cut him off. "Hugo, it's too late." It was Jean-Louis Morand, the Saint of Cancer. He reminded him how many disasters came out of that tower and said it was stupid to think Jiwoo could have survived. Then he coldly told Hugo that if he cared so much, he should go look for MC himself. But if he did that, the number of saints would drop to 11. Hugo could only stand there frustrated and helpless. Back in the present, he was still lost in thought, telling himself that no matter how strong Guion was, surviving would have been impossible. And after all this time, it was too late now for him. Then someone called out, "Sir Hugo, it's a call from the Prime Minister." The call flashed on the screen. Hugo answered and the Prime Minister quickly asked if he could hear him. He asked if Hugo had seen the news that the Devil Tower had collapsed. Hugo brushed it off as the same old story. He apologized but said that if this was another request to search for Guion, he would refuse. To him, the protagonist died in the Devil Tower that day. Whatever was happening there now was probably the work of MC's followers, and if this was just being used to win votes, the Prime Minister cut him off. "No, that's not it." He said South Korea had just received urgent news. "A little while ago that line got a call." Hugo paused. "What line?" "The private hotline made only for Guion." The moment Hugo heard that, he froze. He shouted asking if it was true, then started hitting the poor driver in panic. "Stop the car! Stop the car!" The driver hurried to obey. He slammed on the brakes at once and Hugo realized something. Maybe the call he got earlier was connected. His phone showed 30 missed calls and a message. Seeing that, he went pale. He quickly called the number back. As soon as it connected, a voice said, "Hey Tyson, I'm going to find you and I'm going to kill you." That hit Hugo like a shock. Then he smiled through the disbelief. The way he talked, it really might be him. He immediately ordered the driver to turn the car around and head back to the airport. The driver hesitated because of Hugo's schedule, but Hugo snapped and told him to go to the airport now. The scene shifts back to the little shop where Guion jokes that Tyson has grown up and even improved his calling skills. One of the boys asks who he was calling and he casually says it was just some guy. Then he points out that this thing is a cell phone and says it's pretty interesting. He entered the tower in 2005, so if it's 2025 now, the world has changed a lot. The boy is stunned that this is his first time using a cell phone. He explains that with it you can use the internet and check news and videos too. John perks up at that so he can search for news about the protagonist and yes, even the top trending stories. A bunch of articles pop up on the screen. MC quietly looks through them while the boy watches in amazement. Then John notices the comments. Some people say it's impossible he's back, while others insist that if he were here, he'd be strong enough to take over the whole world. Another commenter calls him trash if he's anything like the 12 Saints, and the replies turn into a full-on insult war. The comment section turns into total chaos. The protagonist gets so mad he nearly crushes the phone, and the poor kid begs him not to break it. He's furious that those bastards are the ones being credited for killing Scarlet Eyes. They were scared out of their minds back then, and now they're trying to pin everything on him. He tries to brush it off saying it changes nothing for him, but then he remembers something. That thought stops him cold. He searches more and finds a special report about what happened after John's death. Back then, MC had decided that if he died, all his property would be donated to orphanages and school foundations. Now he wonders if that really happened, so he keeps searching. Instead, the news says the 12 Saints mourn his death and praised his sacrifice. It also claims he left all his belongings, including his relics, to the 12 Saints, so his wish to save the world could live on through them. All 12 Saints accepted it, except Hugo, the Saint of Sagittarius. So basically, those bastards stole everything. The protagonist snaps, crushes the boy's phone, and swears he'll destroy all of them, including those worthless gods. The poor kid drops to the floor crying over his broken phone, while MC thanks it for its service and is at least glad the call history was erased. The kid is completely heartbroken. Meanwhile, John thinks about what to do next if he wants people to know he's back. His current face looks nothing like it did 20 years ago. Even if he went around claiming he was him, people would just think he was crazy. So until he can torture every last saint, it's better to stay quiet. The boy is still crying over the phone when a system window suddenly appears. It warns him, Be careful, someone is watching you. A red mist starts forming around him, and John immediately recognizes the energy. As he gets up, the boy asks where he's going. The protagonist just says he's going out for some air. Once outside, strange burning goat-like creatures and flying monsters appear. He recognizes them right away. Avatars. They were the lackeys of the Ares sanctuary, and the system confirms it. The avatars are setting up a barrier in Ares' name, weakening the influence of the other constellations. They want him to offer tribute. Jen clicks his tongue. Those bastards serve the gods, yet humans are the ones who have to pay. He cracks his fingers and gets ready to fight, but then someone nearby starts complaining in the background. Ligum, seriously? The guy says he's heard so many stories about Jen that he's sick of hearing that name. They were talking trash about MC right in front of him. The woman with him joins in, saying the news won't stop talking about it, and she's already tired of it, too. He just watches them. He wonders why the media is giving so much attention to someone who's supposed to be a ghost from the past. Then he notices something else. There's a badge on the man's shirt. The two boys recognize it right away. They're people from the Gemini sanctuary. One of the boys quickly tells Jen to come back, warning him not to start trouble with them. But the protagonist keeps staring, and the guy notices, "What are you looking at?" Then he tells him to get lost. The boys panic, thinking they're in trouble now. The man takes a drag, then blows smoke right into Jen's face. He mocks him and says if MC has a problem, he should do something about it. Before it goes further, the woman tries to pull him away, saying they should leave before he wets himself. Even then, the guy pats his head like he's nothing. He keeps throwing out insults, and the woman laughs along. Then he sneers, asking why people like such a weak saint so much. He even questions whether the protagonist was ever really a saint at all. That finally pushes the protagonist over the edge. One of the boys nervously reminds him these people are disciples from Gemini, above a rank. MC ignores that and calls them cowards. The guy turns and asks if that was aimed at him. Jen fires back with a harsher insult, making it very clear it was. So the man walks straight up to him and demands he repeat himself, shocked that a normal person with no mana would dare talk like that. He doesn't bother answering. He just flicks the guy on the forehead. That one flick sends him flying back unconscious. He crashes hard, causing a huge explosion, and the woman is left in shock. The two boys can't believe what they just saw. John only smiles at the scene in front of him. Now the woman is truly scared. The protagonist calls her out, saying he knew what she was trying to do behind his back. She had already formed fire magic in her hand and tried to attack him from behind, but it was a pointless move. John responds with another flick, sending her flying too and smashing through everything in her path. She drops to the ground and the boys are left speechless. They ask how he can use abilities in the middle of the street. John tells them they're mistaken. If he'd really used a skill, those two would be dead. So he took down rank disciples with nothing but his bare hands. Then he crouches beside the man and looks closely at his necklace. He rips it off and says he knew something felt strange when he hit him. This wasn't a divine artifact, so why did these bastards have one? Only saints were supposed to possess those. One of the boys realizes John really doesn't know anything and starts explaining. Decades ago, humanity nearly went extinct because of the calamities. People survived thanks to divine beings and the saints they chose, but since only 12 people couldn't protect the whole world, the saints gathered followers and built divine cathedrals. Those who received power through the saints and awakened became known as disciples. As he explains, an example of someone showing off that kind of power appears on screen. Their ranks match their power. At the top are the saints' SS rank, the ones chosen by the divine beings. Right under them are the SS rank 10 stars, seen as future saints. Then the S rank divine captains, the strongest disciples who lead the others. After that come A rank disciples, then B rank, and so on. The divine beings get stronger through the faith of their disciple. That's why the cathedrals hold all kinds of events and contests to pull more people to their side. The disciples they choose even get gifts from the divine beings. As the explanation goes on, John looks around at the treasures on display. He realizes all of this happened during the 20 years he was gone. Then someone calls out for him to look. When MC turns, those goat-like figures are there again. At the same time, the system gives him a warning. The House of Riches, Greed, and Ares are enjoying what's happening. They want him to kill the woman and the man, too. They want blood. They even promise him a useful reward if he beats both of them, and the boy panics. He says Gaion has drawn the attention of the House of the Gods. They're like shadows of the divine beings, so going against them is the same as going against the gods themselves. The boy tells him to do what they said, but he just smiles and keeps talking. He says he was wondering why Yang's idiots were in a place like this. Now he gets it. They were trying to feed that filthy pig. For the god's sake, he really hasn't changed at all. Then Gaion starts drawing out his power. He stomps the ground and a huge blue shockwave rips through the area and slams into all those floating goat creatures. The boys shield themselves from the blast of light. Then all that red smoke is wiped away completely. How dare you stand against me? The House of Ares runs, and the barrier disappears too. That Hyen definitely isn't normal. Then Gaion brings up the thug on the ground. He asks if that guy was really a disciple of Gemini. The answer is yes. They belong to the most powerful divine cathedral in the country. It's an elite group packed with influential people. Gaion immediately cuts to what matters. They must be loaded, right? The boy just stares, confused. After all, everything the guy had on was expensive. So the protagonist goes right in saying it's looting time. And to him, looting is the best part. Later that night, they finally arrive, and MC groans that the day took forever. The boys start explaining where they live. One points out his apartment on the second floor, while the other says he lives down the next block. They thank Guyon for saving them and getting them home safely. Then they just stand there, waiting. Guyon yawns and asks if they're not going inside. He's tired and clearly not joking around. Next thing, they're inside. Guyon takes off his shirt and starts cutting his hair. Once he's done, he says it finally looks right. Now he's got style again. Guyon gives him a thumbs up, impressed, and asks if he really cut it himself. The protagonist gets a little embarrassed. He explains that in the past, the side effects of his powers made every strand of hair precious. He could practically go bald from a strong breeze. That makes him remember how miserable he looked before, half bald and broken down. Now he can hardly believe his luck. Even his hair is back to normal. Then he pauses. Why is there a calamity inside this house? He instantly smacks the tiny bug, turns to dust, and the boy freaks out. Normally, even pros couldn't kill one barehanded, but it's not just one. More are coming, and Jian wonders what these things are seeing in him. Someone asks if he's giving off an aura that attracts calamities. MC shuts that down. Normally, that means something in the house is drawing them in. The boy stares at him. Jian says it's probably because of the evil relics in the house. The boy argues that they were gifts from a saint. Even if they aren't his, he says they were still blessed items. He answers by smashing one on the spot. The boy drops to the floor in despair while the protagonist calls it disgusting. Then he points things out one by one. That mask is a divine relic used to monitor its owner. The music box steals personal information and the clock attracts calamities. The poor kid looks crushed. Jian gets furious. Those rotten saints didn't just steal his money. They're selling cursed relics to people and taking their information too. Just thinking about it makes him mad. The boy, stunned by MC's anger, is told to throw all of it away, but outside someone has just arrived and hears all the yelling. Inside, Jian is standing there while the boy cries and clings to him. The newcomer walks in and looks around completely confused. He asks who he is, and the nervous boy blurts out Sungjae. That instantly sets him off. He snaps that he's the owner of the house, idiot, and starts releasing his power. The story then shifts to Aries' sanctuary at Yang's residence. He's shocked to hear that the Korean avatars have disappeared. The report says the whole Korean branch is in chaos. Yang can't believe it. An avatar is a direct servant of the gods. Only an extremely powerful awakened could drive them back. So he orders his men to contact the other saints and ask if they had anything to do with it. They obey but add that they still haven't been able to reach Hugo's sanctuary. Yang brushes it off, saying Hugo probably went to the UK to play mercenary again. But then he hears that as soon as Hugo arrived in the UK, he changed course. That makes Yang ask where he went. The answer, Korea. Hearing that, Yang starts getting nervous. Hugo used to be close friends with Jian. So Yang wonders if this is tied to the rumors that the protagonist survived, which would mean he remembers MC from the past, horribly disfigured. Did he really come back? Damn it. He refuses to believe it and hurls a chandelier at a servant who did nothing wrong. Then he demands every detail they have. They report that near the place where one avatar vanished, a disciple of Gemini was found unconscious in the street. According to witnesses, he had picked a fight with a very handsome man. A handsome man? Then Yang decides it can't be John, that he knew how to ruin face, but either way things have been going badly lately. It's still possible the protagonist is alive and has returned. For some reason, the avatars in Korea are disappearing. And even worse, they recently failed to defeat the Spider Queen too. If this keeps up, Yang could lose his position. So he orders them to prepare his jet. They ask if he plans to go himself. He says yes, he needs to see it with his own eyes. So he heads out with his men. The scene shifts back to Korea, to a hospital tied to Gemini. The guy who messed with John earlier is still unconscious. A furious old man demands to know who did this to his grandson. The thug lies there in the hospital bed, while someone says not to worry. That's why Gemini Sanctuary sent the president. He's the S-Class Gemini Knight, Frozen Min Sung-hun. Back at the apartment, the newcomer asks if they met John today in the Devil's Tower. He hears that MC handled all the calamities alone with no weapon, and the boy keeps nervously agreeing. Then comes the next question. Did he really knock out an A-Class too? The boy confirms that part as well. Now the owner loses it, saying none of this makes sense. John even destroyed every relic in the house. He calmly replies that they were all fake, including the one in front of him. The redhead, ready to explode, demands to know what sect the protagonist belongs to. But the protagonist just smiles and says he doesn't need one. At this point, the guy is seconds from blowing up. So he asks which god MC serves, and MC answers that he serves none of those idiot gods, only himself. They keep going. What awakened class is he? He casually says, a worker maybe? Then comes the last question, his name. The protagonist answers, my name is the protagonist. The moment Sungjae hears that, he starts gathering power, while the other boy tries to calm him down. But Sungjae is done listening. MC barged into someone else's home without permission, destroyed all the relics, and now dares to use the name Gion as a huge aura rises behind him. He shouts, asking how he could imitate him. Jaiwoo yells that this is their house and asks if Sungjae is trying to wreck everything. Then a system message appears for the protagonist. The magic power of the Gemini Temple is being released. MC is actually excited. Looks like he's about to study the whole place. Another window pops up asking to activate a skill. It locks onto Cheon Sungjae of the House of Gemini, Awakened Class A, title, One who punishes possessed abilities, which is stake, rank S, Ice Capsule Seals rank A. Traits, genius, violent, stubborn, obsessed, and idle admirer. His genius trait gives a big boost to learning abilities. Gyeon notes that Sungjae is already using high-level summons at a young age, so that genius trait clearly isn't for show. Meanwhile, Sungjae keeps powering up his giant summon. The other boy panics and yells for him to run. He warns that Cheon Sungjae is an A-class awakened from Gemini Sanctuary. On top of that, he's a total Gyeon fanatic. Then he shouts at Jaiwoo to get out, too, unless he wants to get beaten up along with him. While the guy was still yelling, the protagonist suddenly showed up right behind him. He warned him not to play with fire, then got his finger ready. Just as he started to turn around, MC flicked him in the forehead and the guy went flying. A moment later, the other boy panics saying this idiot is going to burn down not just the house, but the whole building. By then, the kid in the back is still freaking out and rambling. The redhead drops to the floor unconscious. The boy nervously asks if Cheon Sungjae is dead. Gyeon says no, he probably just got knocked silly. That only makes the other kid worry even more. Then we see the redhead got a huge bump on his forehead from that flick. He says he's going to bed and that the guy will wake up when he wakes up. Meanwhile, the other boy keeps calling out asking if Cheon Sungjae is really alive. He tries to get a response, but the redhead is just lying there with foam at the mouth. After that, Gyeon heads into the room. Inside, he finds a bunch of statues and figures of himself. He stares at all of it, then asks what this nonsense is supposed to be. The boy reminds him that Cheon Sungjae is obsessed with Lee the protagonist. Right then, the redhead wakes up and yells not to touch them carelessly. There is precious Lee Jae-young's collection worth more to him than his own life. MC walks over, rips the head off one figure and says, "This is making him feel awful." And he says they might as well tear all their heads off. And the guy freezes in shock. The redhead starts screaming about his figures and begs him to stop. But the protagonist just keeps breaking them. He says he already told them he's not some crazy guy, he's Lee Jae-young. The poor collector is totally shattered and starts crying. Then the scene switches to a cafe where someone is watching the news. The report says that 2 Gemini affiliates were attacked yesterday by an unidentified man. Witnesses also say the suspect stole the victim's belongings. The one watching the report is Hugo. He immediately says this has to be Jae-young's doing and wonders what that idiot is up to now. He grumbles that this is the first kind of news he hears right after arriving in Korea. Then a waitress asks what he'd like to order. The second Hugo looks at her, his expression turns cold and he tells Yongwei to cut it out and get lost. She smiles and admits he noticed right away. Then it's revealed the fat guy is using the woman's body. He says he couldn't reach Hugo and judging by how fast he came to Korea, he must care a lot about Lee Jae-young. That alone tells him plenty. So he demands that Hugo tell him everything he knows about MC. Hugo instantly snaps back saying that's exactly why he hates body possessors like him and flicks him. At once the woman comes back to her senses. Confused, she wonders what she's doing there. Hugo curses Yongwei for these stupid tricks and says he needs to find Jae-young before the others do. He calls out wondering where he is. Then the scene cuts to a supermarket. The redhead and the other boy are shopping and the boy said that Hyung might really be the protagonist. The redhead says there's no way. They look nothing alike. To him, Lee Jae-young is the hero who saved humanity. There's no way that delinquent is him. But the boy insists he saw him come out of the Devil Tower and his strength was clearly not normal. So if he really is, the redhead cuts him off and says no. He's sure MC isn't Lee because his father told him so. The other boy starts to respond, bringing up his father. But the redhead cuts him off again and says they should just go pay. At that moment, a woman suddenly screams in the background. She shouts that there's a thief. Both of them stop and wonder who yelled that. Then someone rushes right past them so fast that items go flying and shelves get knocked around. That man is the thief. The redhead recognizes that speed right away and says he's a Scorpio affiliate. He's using his power to steal everyone's wallets and valuables in the supermarket. The guy zips through the store like a blur, cleaning the place out. While doing it, he thinks to himself that no one can stop him at this speed. Even if other affiliates are around, it won't matter. He says he's already taken most of what he wants and is about to move on to the next place when suddenly, bam, he gets punched right in the ribs. It's Jian, calm as ever, saying he caught him. The thief is stunned and the other boy blurts out asking why he is there. The protagonist casually says he came because he forgot to ask them to buy chicken. The thief collapses on the floor, twisting in pain, while someone nearby says Jian's pretty impressive. It's hard to catch a Scorpio affiliate because they're so fast. Still, judging from his energy, they assume he's just an ordinary believer. So they tell him that next time he should report it to the police first. That self-important fool barely has time to react when something suddenly grabs his attention. He turns and the whole supermarket starts shaking. The thief panics, wondering if it's an earthquake. Then he decides this is perfect. He'll use the chaos to escape and takes off at once. As he runs, he thinks he was sure that weird guy had finished him, but this quake gave him a chance to get away. Then the ground in front of him splits open and out of it comes a giant centipede. The thief freezes, realizing it's a calamity. He can't believe one showed up in a green zone. He curses himself saying he should have run before getting mixed up in this. Even so, he still tries to escape thinking that no matter how strong it is, it can't catch him at his speed. But while he's still smiling, the monster lunges with its mouth wide open. You can guess how that ended. Then we finally get a full look at the creature. It's the same monster the fat guy said they failed to capture. It stares down everyone there like prey, and panic spreads through the whole supermarket. The monster keeps watching them with a cold, deadly gaze. An announcement says this is not a drill. People start panicking even more as another voice reports a calamity event inside the supermarket with civilians still trapped inside. Everyone is told to evacuate outside as fast as possible. Because of the queen spider's appearance, the supermarket's danger level has now been raised to a red zone. Then the monster releases a swarm of smaller creatures, some like flies, others like centipedes. While running, a little kid was left behind crying, and a monster rushed in to grab them. But then a green light suddenly appeared and Jian smashed the monster aside. He hit it with one solid punch as the child looked back in shock. MC asks if the kid is okay and tells him to be more careful. But the moment the boy gets a good look at him, he freaks out and runs away without even saying thanks. Jian just stands there a little dumbfounded. Still, he figures the kid seems fine, then wonders what kind of supermarket has more calamities than people. After being away this long, he decides it's time for a little warm-up and starts pulling out his weapon. But then the scene cuts to a speeding car, and inside the fat guy hears that a calamity appeared at a market in Buchan. At first he says he doesn't care, then asks what kind it is. When he's told it's the queen spider, he's completely shocked. He curses saying they failed the last raid and barely managed to seal it. Now he wonders if it escaped and admits he can't handle a red-class calamity alone. And we get an explanation that after calamities appeared, humanity sorted them into 6 danger levels. Blue is low danger, green means safe, yellow is alert, orange means evacuate and danger is rising. Red means the area is controlled by calamities. Black means human survival is impossible. So if the queen spider appeared, that market must have turned into a red zone. Then the driver asks Yang Wei what they should do about the market. He thinks for a moment and says to bury everything. The driver is shocked and asks him to repeat that. Yang Wei says no one can find out the truth. If people learn, even more damage happened because they hid the failed raid, it'll become a huge mess. So he orders them to say everyone inside is dead and send affiliates to bury the whole building. Then we return to the supermarket where monsters are tearing through the place. A bald man curses the bugs and uses an ice prison, freezing the insects and monsters around him. As he attacks, he declares that they shouldn't look down on an S rank. It looks like this bald guy might be the one the old man sent after Jian. But even though the monsters are frozen, they shatter the ice and charge again. The bald man is shocked that they broke his ice magic so easily. Then Jian steps in front of him holding a bunch of cans like it's nothing and tells him to move aside. The bald guy can't even tell when he got there. The protagonist looks at the monsters and says they must be starving if they've decided to eat humans. Then he tosses one of the cans he's holding up into the air. He snatches it at high speed and grins. Eat this. Then he starts hurling cans at the monsters and every throw lands hard. The creatures shriek all at once. One of them gets split clean in half and Jian tears through the rest like it's nothing. You really think you can bare your teeth at me, you trash? Still smiling like a maniac, he clears out the market aisle by aisle. You weak losers should know your place. The Gemini affiliates can only stare shocked by how fast Jian is wiping them out. Then the system pops up beside him. You have defeated calamities. Your zodiac experience has increased. You obtain new materials for production. Materials? What is this system even talking about? A small crystal appears in MC's hand as the system explains. With the materials you collected, you can create skills and relics. Production skill has also changed. Jian decides he'll test that later. For now, moving like this doesn't feel bad at all, even with his physical ability cut to 50% because of the recovery penalty. Maybe now he can draw out even more power than before. Meanwhile, the bald guy stares at Jian in total disbelief. He can't believe he erased those S-rank calamities so easily when he couldn't stop them at all. Then the protagonist talks to Song Jae. Huh? When did you get that? The protagonist shows him the dagger he took from their place and the kid freezes. Where did this guy even come from? MC stays completely calm, but the bald man suddenly speaks up. Hey! I knew something was off, so you're the one who attacked our affiliates. That catches Jian off guard for a second. The guy remembers the 2 idiots he smashed earlier. Still, the protagonist just tells him to shut up and slaps his cheek. The bald man drops to the floor stunned. Damn it. How did he figure it out? You know too much. How could I not know? You idiot. Those clothes and that badge came from our affiliates. He realized it after Jian beat them up. Turns out MC was wearing Yang's outfit the whole time. And that badge is an S-rank relic only Gemini affiliates have. Sung Jae looks at the badge while the bald guy keeps yelling, I bet that relic is why you're ridiculously strong. Am I right or not? Jian looks down at it. Huh? Why is this crap on me? Gross. Then he grabs it with his hand. The bald guy goes pale. You crazy bastard. That thing's worthless. At best, it's just decoration. You were all fooled by the witch. The man can only gasp, calling it blasphemy. He shakes his head. He can't believe this guy and the one from the bar are still acting like punks after 20 years. While Jian is talking to the bald man, a monster suddenly charges in. The protagonist's expression turns serious. Sung Jae and the red-haired guy point at it in shock. It's the queen spider and now she's tearing through everything. People scream in panic as the destruction spreads, and the bald man blurts out, Queen Spider! Jian immediately draws out his aura. 2. Then he launches himself at the monster. Hey Queen, I've got a gift for you. He lands a brutal hit on her, sending the giant spider flying. Everyone stares in disbelief at what they just saw. What the hell was that? He rushed the queen spider without even using a relic. Then a voice echoes out, all Gemini affiliates inside the supermarket, listen. The bald man recognizes it at once. Wait, that voice? Bishop Choi? Telepathy. He answers right away, yes, Bishop. This is Sungo. Sung Jae and Sungo, is that you? Leave the building immediately. The speaker is Gemini Bishop Choi. Sungo, Aries people are about to destroy the entire building. Outside, they're already preparing to bring it down. Choi keeps going. Yang Wei is coming in person. We can't stop him. And the queen spider in that supermarket is a monster even Yang Wei couldn't kill. That's why they're desperate to bury this whole place. It would be bad if their failure came to light. Sungo, you borrowed a teleport skill, right? Take Sung Jae and get out now. What? Just the two of us. Something makes Sungo hesitate. He looks around and sees the wounded people all over the place. The destruction inside the market is impossible to ignore. At the same time, Jian is still fighting head-on. Sungo falls silent thinking and Choi presses him. Why are you taking so long? Is there a problem? No, sir. No problem. Meanwhile, the red-haired boy shouts back, begging for help wouldn't matter anyway. So what are you saying? Can't you see the mess here? You're telling everyone to get buried alive. Sung Ho hesitates again, then says he knows, but if word gets out that the queen spider appeared in the middle of the city, what will people think of them? He keeps going before anyone can answer. The citizens will blame the divine sanctuary. Their faith will weaken, and so will the power of the gods. Humanity's devotion has to stay firm if we want divine protection. He says they only have 2 teleports left, so only 2 people can go. Sung Jae, you're coming with me. I have my orders. I'm getting you out. But Sung Jae refuses to leave his friend behind, especially with so many people still trapped inside. You idiot. This isn't the time to make me look bad. I'm not dying here because of some useless brat like you. He starts summoning his ice power again and adds, I can't disobey the saint's orders, so I'll get rid of all this dead weight. Then you won't have a choice. The second the red-haired boy hears that, he draws his weapon too. You disgusting piece of trash. Sung Jae, you really think you can fight me? We're not even close to the same level. Forget that pointless conscience of yours and make the smart choice. But before he can finish, a centipede smashes him across the back. He goes face first into the ground, sliding hard. Then Jihan looks over and says, What? You're still here? It's dangerous, so get out already. Hyung, the boy calls out. He's using the word for an older brother. Then the red-haired kid explains, the exit is blocked by calamities, so we can't leave. Our only options are to use teleportation or beat all the calamities. The queen spider is still there, staring everyone down. There are a lot of injured people, too. Outside, the men in suits keep gathering purple power, and he adds that the Aries constellation sect is sealing off the whole area. Jihan clicks his tongue. What a headache. The bald man, still wrecked on the floor, gets back up and starts screaming that MC dared to crush him. He cuts him off, saying he thought the guy had already run off and abandoned everyone. Shut up, idiots. Survive on your own if you want. I'm leaving no matter what. But the moment he tries to teleport, a web shoots onto his back. The queen spider has him. She yanks him straight into her jaws. And that's the end of him. Only his phone falls to the floor. Everyone stares at the spider with grim faces. John tells the other two, I'll handle this. Take care of the injured and get out when you can. The red-haired boy and Sunj look at each other. But the protagonist adds, I'll finish this fast. So move. Outside, the barrier keeps rising, and Yang arrives, asking for a report. They tell him they blocked off the store and put the whole building on high alert. He isn't impressed for something they started before he got there. This isn't much. Then they notice the barricade isn't holding. It's being blocked by something. A green light suddenly bursts out, shattering the barricade and throwing everyone back. Then a giant serpent symbol appears around the area. What is that? People start flooding out of the supermarket in panic. They beg for help, saying the calamity is still inside and people are still trapped. The men in suits try to hold the crowd back as others shout that one guy was grabbing the spiders. Yang watches the whole scene in silence. Grab the spiders. No, that's impossible. Even I can't catch one. So who did it? He starts releasing his red aura. The guards quickly warn everyone. Mr. Yangi, there may still be calamities inside. He doesn't care and orders them all to stay alert. Then he leaps from building to building until he enters the supermarket and says, My God, how did someone manage to kill it? Who did this? There are traces of a battle. What happened here? Is someone really hunting the queen spider? This is getting even more troublesome. There's too much to worry about already. But this energy, he takes off running, looks down below and freezes. Wait, that bastard. Why is he here? Down in the crowd, he spots Hugo. Yang starts wondering if Hugo is behind all this. Could it really be him? It almost makes sense until someone suddenly says, Hey, how have you been without me? The moment Yang hears that, he goes stiff. What is it, fatty? Something wrong? It was Ligum. He'd been talking for a while, then asked, What's with that look? Like you ate something bad. Shocked, the big guy stammered, You're here. The scene shifts to a green alarm blaring. Firefighters guide people out while shouting for anyone hurt to come over fast. They warn everyone to get away from the building while Dina and the redhead stand there thinking, that guy really is Liam. He looks different, but those moves are definitely his. Then someone calls out, Chien Sunj, it was Hugo. He stared at him and asked, Chan Sunj, why are you here? Denim froze and muttered, the Sagittarius Saint. The redhead just looked confused. What? Since when were you back? So that's how you talk to your father. The redhead is Hugo's son. Pretty wild reveal. Denim smiles, but the redhead is clearly furious. Hugo keeps looking at them. Then he says, it's good. They don't seem badly hurt. A little treatment from the medics should be enough, but what matters more is that they were inside the supermarket and he heard the Calamity was killed. So who did it? The redhead ignores him completely. Still angry, he just glares, wondering who Hugo plans to chase next. Then Denim says, but Brother Gum should be okay, right? The moment Hugo hears that, he rushes over. You just said Gum? Where is he? You know him. The poor guy panics. Sorry. Are you talking about the Saint? Yeah, he's inside the supermarket right now. He's also the one who beat the Queen's spider. He said his name is Gum. Tell me exactly what happened in there. Right then, a huge explosion erupts inside the supermarket. Hugo turns and sees the blast behind him. Then the scene changes again. Now the big guy is there beaten up and stunned, saying, you bastard. But the protagonist just smiles. You're so dramatic. We've known each other for 20 years, and you attack me the second you see me. Who the hell are you? The big guy snaps. You look a little like Ligum, but his face wasn't covered in scars, and his voice sounds different, too. There's no way he could still look this young. You bastard. How dare you pretend to be Ligum? You almost fooled me for a second. Pretend. The big guy keeps yelling. How dare you challenge me? You ready for what happens next? The protagonist just stares at him. What the hell are you even talking about, idiot? Then he steps in and drives a hit straight into the big guy's chest, sending him flying. Did you think I was joking? He doesn't stop there. He slams the guy around like a ping-pong ball until he crashes to the floor. With one hand in his pocket, the protagonist walks up calmly. Do you people really need a beating before you listen? Did life get better after getting rid of me? You filthy bastard. You stole my relics, and from what I heard, you even faked my testimony. The big guy can only stare in shock. That fine. I was already planning to send you flying anyway. I'll start by teaching you a lesson. The big guy is still rattled as the protagonist keeps talking. After that, I'll go to your house, your sanctuary, your relics, and the rest of those trash saints too. I'll destroy it all. I won't let that happen. The way he talks and moves, he's not bluffing. I couldn't even track his attacks earlier. Is he really Ligum? Did he actually survive the tower and come back? No way. If you really are Ligum, then the big guy starts drawing out his power. Prove it to me. A red-purple force flares up around him. A dark symbol spreads across the ground and something rises behind him. He appears with a crown as the system announces the Master of Ares, Jade Emperor, has revealed himself. So only part of your god showed up. Even then, the big guy keeps acting proud. He fires out a storm of chains to capture Ligum. And once they wrap around him, he sneers. Do we still look weak to you now? I don't know how you came back from the tower, but I'll make you regret it. Skill, divine armament. More and more chains tighten around the protagonist, locking him in place while a massive spikes forms right in front of him. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Shut up, bastard. All those spikes shoot straight at him and tear through the whole area. A pile of blades stacks up over him, one over another. Did he finally die? I was surprised he even made it back from the Devil's Tower. Still, he's as stupid as ever to fight me head-on like this. Did he think a few level ups and some experience points were enough? What an idiot. Did he really think I spent the last 20 years doing nothing? Then a green light starts shining from inside the spikes. The big guy immediately tenses up. An explosion bursts out, throwing the blades back as the protagonist charges through and smashes a hard hit into the big guy's face, sending him flying backward. How did he survive that? Are you really Liam? The protagonist laughs. So, you finally figured it out, you fat bastard. He plants a foot on the big guy's stomach and keeps talking. Yeah, that's right. I really did come back. How did he get out alive? And what happened to you? Even your weapons smell like trash now. That kind of recovery should be impossible, even for Aquarius healers. System messages appear. You experienced near death. Conditions met. Skill unlocked. 13th sense. Thanks. You made me stronger. Now, how about I try something new? Hey, wait. Please. The system keeps going. The god Ares is shocked by Ligum. He tearfully asks why Liam is still alive. The god Ares trembles, saying, "This is impossible." The god Ares vanished in a flood of curses. The big guy is left panicking. What is this? Why is a god disappearing? The protagonist answers, maybe because he knows fighting me is pointless. I'm feeling merciful, so I'll only make you suffer as much as I did. He says it with a smile full of pity. Then he starts beating the big guy down. And after some time, Hugo arrives with the man's subordinates asking, "What the hell happened here?" The place is completely wrecked, and Hugo takes it all in. That energy, Yang Wei, this was definitely Liam's doing. Only he could leave behind a mess like this. One of the men adds, "Something's wrong. I can still feel Yangi's energy from here, but it's way too weak for someone who's alive." "What happened?" Hugo says nothing at first. Then he releases his aura and tells them, "Step back for a second." The next moment he vanishes and heads straight to where the big guy was. After looking around, he curses. "Ligum, that bastard. He even left a message there. Pathetic bastard. What kind of mess are you making next?" The scene shifts to Iris's house. The protagonist arrives calmly and says, "So, the divine artifact Yangi stole from me is here, huh?" He steps inside and soon finds a statue of the big guy with people moving around the place. The protagonist looks around and says, "That bastard is so obsessed with looking rich. He's showing off all this wealth, but I can already sense my divine artifact. And what's with these fake relics? Looks like he even took clothes from my house. But these weapons are all fake." Then he spots something labeled toothpick used by Ligum. "There you are, my precious." Then the scene cuts to people in shock as a red alarm starts blaring. It's the thief. "Hurry. All guards to Area B." When they arrive, the protagonist is standing there holding the toothpick. In no time, a whole force surrounds him. Hands up, drop the item, and surrender peacefully. He just looks at them. "Yeah, I don't feel like it." He flicks the little toothpick and it starts smashing through everything, sending people flying. They get thrown all over the place while he calmly says, "You really should use what you're best with, don't you think?" Then it changes form. It was a toothpick and now it's a slime. "Good to see you again, Lime." The system announces you unlocked a divine artifact, the slime that creates all divine artifact of creation guidance. Rank S, trait shape change rank S. Another message follows. Conditions met to unlock the skill creation workshop. A 1.5-meter workshop has been created. Default workshop range unlocked. Production, repair, reinforcement, and dismantling. With the creation skill engraved, the traits of the slime that creates all can be granted. Alright, should we get out of here now? Then one more system window appears. The energy of Ares's divine artifact is being strongly detected. It'd be a little disappointing to leave empty-handed. The little slime stares at him as he walks forward. He opens the door and says, "Time to farm." Then the scene cuts to Hugo saying he came too late. The big guy's mansion is already wrecked and people are running everywhere in panic. "Gum, please stop this." People keep fleeing in the background as the scene changes again. Now the protagonist says, "I'm starting to get hungry." Hugo shouts, "Gum!" "Ha!" Tyson comes running over, crying like crazy, but he rushes right past John without even noticing him. Instead, he grabs some poor guy and yells that if Ligum was alive, he should have gone to him right away. Then he demands to know what he did after coming back. MC just stares at him, confused, while Tyson keeps rambling, saying his leg looks fine, but the rest of his body doesn't, and asking where he's rushing off to in that condition. That makes Liam snap. He kicks Hugo in the face and snaps. "You can't even recognize your own friend. Idiot." Hugo spits blood, still stunned, while the poor extra nearby clearly wants to get out before things get worse. Hugo freezes. Then he notices the divine artifact, the slime, and stares. "Wait, are you really?" Liam cuts him off, ready to hit him again if that's what it takes to fix his head. "Tyson." The poor guy can barely speak. Then Tyson finally blurts out, "Goo!" and throws himself at John. Totally emotional. Even Lime looks happy. Tyson can hardly believe it. He is really alive, but Goo rops hard into his stomach, and Tyson reels back in shock. The protagonist curses at him for hugging him out of nowhere, and that only convinces Tyson even more. "Yeah, that's definitely Goo." Just then, the system warns them. Apollo has appeared. Everyone pauses. A golden aura rises behind them as Apollo shows up. Tyson stares, clearly shaken, while Apollo opens his eyes and fixes John with a strange look. Tyson looks even more nervous, but Liam stays calm. Then Apollo appears right in front of them, and Hugo can't understand why he's here. Apollo only keeps staring at John in silence. MC frowns and asks what this is supposed to be. The system says Apollo doubts Ligum really survived and suggests checking if this is truly him. Hugo is lost. How is he supposed to do that? Apollo raises his bow at Ligum and figures a fire arrow should reveal the truth. Hugo quickly hugs him and begs Apollo not to do it. He meanwhile thinks maybe he should just get rid of this messed up god, too. After all, the guy is aiming arrows at someone he just met. Hugo keeps trying to calm things down, saying it's fine, and John doesn't look hurt. The protagonist says he'd rather settle a few things first. Hugo flinches. What? Then he remembers MC's voice message and goes pale while John keeps talking. He says he just got out of the tower and found out his house was sold, his name was ruined, and all his relics were gone. Hugo tries to stop him but says for now he'll just give him one punch. And he actually does it. He takes the hit and says that punch proves it. Hugo really is Ligum's guy after all. Right then, Yangwa's guards show up shouting that they found him. They tell everyone to grab the man who stole the relics. John blinks, then remembers he was being chased. Hugo turns to Ligum and asks what exactly he stole. The protagonist casually says it wasn't much, then shows a bag stuffed with items. Hugo realizes he robbed Yangi's relic storage. That makes Ligum tear up and yell, asking what kind of mess Jen just caused. The guards want to arrest him right away, but their leader stops them, saying MC isn't someone they can handle. He knows calling more people like them still won't change anything. Before anyone can react, a huge gust tears through the area, and Liam wonders what that was. Then something leaps in. One of them realizes who's arrived. A massive sword crashes down and they understand it. This is Ares' avatar, the Beast of Riches. The creature roars right in front of Hugo and Ligam. They look up and Hugo immediately panics. It's Ares' avatar. He urges Jen to drop what he took from Yongwei and run, but he tells ISO to relax. He says he has a plan, then calls for Lime to do it. Lime's eyes start glowing and light pours out of him. A moment later, he spits out what looks like John's weapon. The protagonist knows it'll be hard to fight an avatar with it in this condition, so he calls for its true form, the one that stayed asleep until now. Green energy starts wrapping around his old weapon, and Hugo wonders what kind of power this is. Then, lightning strikes, and a huge new sword appears in John's hand. Now he says it's finally useful. The system explains that the relic awakened through the power of Fucus, and thanks to that constellation Snake Hunter trait, the sword gained a fatal strike effect. Its blade became sharper and its power increased. Another skill unlocks 13th sense. Now John can see the enemy's vital spots in the path of destruction. MC grins. So this is his new ability. He tests it at once and spots the monster's weak points. With that, he's ready to move. He charges straight at the beast while Hugo watches from behind. He remembers this is exactly how John always fought, taking the lead and rushing the enemy, no matter how dangerous it was. He tells him to finish it fast, but then the monster slams its paw down just as he closes in. Hugo shouts in shock, but something happens to the beast's paw. John complains that Hugo is yelling too loud, jokes that the smell of that beast's feet nearly killed him, and says, now it's his turn. The monster is stunned when its paw goes flying. John sliced it clean off. The beast roars in pain, and the system warns them to be careful. The Beast of Riches, Piku, has used its skill. Keeps roaring, but the protagonist stands there calmly and says it would have avoided punishment if it had stayed quiet. Now he's going to start slowly. He gets ready to attack again, and the system announces that Ophis trait is activating. Snake Hunter. John swings, sending a slash racing across the ground toward the monster. The force tears through everything in its path, reaching far into the area. Everyone can only stare in shock. John stands firm, and the trail of destruction shows just how powerful that blow was. Hugo realizes this power matches the MC from his prime. The monster is completely beaten, and the system announces he defeated an avatar and his divinity points increased. Then it asks if he wants to take the Beast of Riches Piku as his own avatar. John is surprised. Only the 12 gods are supposed to control avatars. So this is possible too. He walks up to the beast and pets it. His aura starts wrapping around it and the creature even grows wings. The system confirms that the Beast of Riches Piku has become a Fucus avatar. Current number of avatars 1. Now it looks oddly cute. Piku shrinks down just to hug its new owner. And John picks it up. He says, a beast of riches like this will make a great treasure chest. In the back, Hugo is speechless. He just turned another sanctuary's avatar into his own. And Hugo can't imagine what kind of condition allowed that to happen. John cuddles the little beast for a second when the system appears again. It says he can give Piku a name. The protagonist thinks for a moment, then names it Piggy. After that, the scene shifts to Hugo's house. And C calls him a traitor and Hugo fires back asking if John has any idea how worried he was. He calmly says that unless he's wrong, Hugo got married, started a family, and enjoyed life while his friend was trapped inside that awful tower. John keeps pressing him, then jokes that maybe he won't be able to rob him in his own house. He repeats that point more bluntly, but Hugo says not to worry. The protagonist can stay as long as he wants since he lives there alone. That awkwardly slips out, and Hugo tries to cheer things up. Then he panics and explains he's not divorced. It's just that his wife never mind. He tells him C to forget it. Instead, he asks what the hell happened inside the tower. Privately, Hugo decides not to tell Sanjay or Yua about John yet since they were crazy about him back then. Hugo had been fighting the calamities outside the tower. So, he never learned what happened inside or why the other saints came out carrying the head of the Scarlet Eyes instead of him. John says the truth is simple and ugly. He was stabbed in the back and thrown into a trap. That place was packed with calamities. More and more kept showing up and even Scarlet Eyes came back to life. Hearing that, Hugo is shocked. Scarlet Eyes revived. The protagonist confirms it. He explains the monster was deeper inside the tower and its real form was a giant fire dragon. John says he still managed to kill that bastard, but the real problem wasn't Scarlet Eyes. It was the tower's true administrator. That guy could revive dead calamities. No matter how many times MC killed them, they kept coming back. Somehow, he still managed to get out. But honestly, he thought he would never escape. That sick freak tortured him badly for a long time. In the end, I used everything I had and beat the tower's administrator. If I remember right, I got buried after that. When I woke up, the monsters were gone from the cave. And somehow, I had these new powers. One thing's for sure, the bastard who stabbed me knew the tower inside and out. That's how he trapped me in that cave packed with calamities. He had to know exactly where it was. I'm definitely going to make those guys pay. The ones who stole what was mine and talked trash about me. But the one who betrayed me, I've got something special planned for him. First, I need to get ready. Hugo is left stunned after hearing all that and asks what he should do. John says he needs to make the gear he'll use against them. Then he uses his power on the little wooden horse he set down and his skill appears. Creation Workshop Level 1. It can summon a workshop that makes anything. The system starts searching for usable crafting materials and asks if he wants to use divine relic materials. A list of available materials pops up. Corrupted essence of the queen spider stored magic power can be absorbed. Calamity fragment raises the success rate and power of a divine relic. On top of that, several divine relics from Ares are detected. They're the relics he took from Ares' house. John decides to just throw everything in and try it. The creation of the relic begins. The whole house is covered in green light as more system messages appear. Creation complete. A divine relic has been made and it produced an ego. Imitation horse rank D. If you write someone's name on the relic, that person can absorb the magic power of whoever they touch. It lets them take 10% of another person's magic power for 1 hour, and it's strongly loyal to its owner. John is pleased. A divine relic with an ego can grow on its own. Hugo just claps in amazement. Still, he says a Heil item with an ego doesn't look all that impressive, and the horse instantly gets mad at him. He fires back. Does he have any idea how many materials that took? The relic asks if he wants to use the remaining materials to make something better, but the protagonist lets it go for now. Then Hugo changes his tune, praising the design and calling MC a genius for making a divine relic. MC points out that a second ago he was insulting it and saying he should show it some respect. Then Hugo asks if he studied design in the Devil's Tower. He thinks for a moment and says that depends on how useful Hugo is from here on out. They need to start dealing with those fake saints. Poor Hugo even gets smacked on the head. He asks how the protagonist plans to do that. It won't be easy to lure the other saints out of their territories. John asks if this should be enough to draw them in. It's the true divine relic from the House of Ares, the Golden Fleece Chest. The system explains, Golden Fleece Chest, rank SS, can store anything and even multiply the items inside if you pay the price. It's one of the best true divine relics. Hugo asks why he brought it if he can't even use it. John says he heard ISO is a saint with no money, so he brought it to help fund their side. ISO gets annoyed and snaps that he isn't poor, then asks, the higher the relic's rank, the more materials it costs, right? MC says they'll use it to multiply their materials and make divine relics strong enough to crush the others. Hugo asks how they're supposed to do that when nobody there can activate it. John stares at him and asks if he really can't use it. Hugo reminds him he isn't Ares' saint. He's the Sagittarius saint. Didn't he notice? The protagonist didn't. The two of them just sit there in silence. Then Hugo says maybe MC can use it instead. John shuts that down too and says they need another way, but then he keeps talking and casually mentions he already sent a declaration of war to a broadcasting station. He is stunned. He blurts out, what did you send and where? Hugo says, there's no point now. They just have to figure something else out. The protagonist repeats the question, furious, and calls him insane. The scene shifts to the Blue House in Korea, where a meeting is going on. One man angrily tears into the others, saying they couldn't even beat a single spider and only ended up humiliating themselves. He says they should have stuck to selling charms instead of joining a fight against a calamity. He's the Divine Captain, Divine Lion Oliver, but someone cuts him off. They warn Divine Lion to watch his words. Oliver says he heard some random guy beat the Queen Spider. Then he wonders if the dead John somehow came back to life. Another person tells him not to go too far. It's obvious he's way too obsessed with MC's old hero stories. That man is the Gemini Divine Captain Cho Sun-hook. He's the one who told the bald guy and the dagger user to run from the supermarket. Choi asks what the problem is. If it really were John, then of course he could have taken down that spider easily. Didn't they see that famous Russian subjugation video? But another man argues he only did that because he got buffs from the other saints and his weapons were given to him too. With that kind of support, they would have done even better. Troy Dryley answers that maybe he just didn't get enough support to beat the Queen Spider then. That's why he failed, right? The man immediately gets angry. He insists he's just setting the record straight. Ares' side defeated the Queen Spider thanks to the sacrifice of an S-rank disciple. Troy mocks him saying, wow, Ares has someone that strong. He'd love to meet them, though he'd probably have to search inside the Queen Spider's stomach. The argument keeps going while an old man in the back grumbles about how the Blue House turned into a den of thugs. Then someone bursts through the door shouting for the president to turn on the news right away because something huge happened on the broadcast. The reporter says their station just received a mysterious package containing photos from someone claiming to be Yangi along with a short message. The photos show Yangi wrecked and the note says, I'm back. A handwriting analysis confirms a 99% match. The writing belongs to the supposedly dead lion. Then the scene cuts back to Hugo yelling. He asks the protagonist what he was thinking when he sent that. MC says it was a declaration of war. He's telling them to get ready because he's gonna rip off every one of their heads. Hugo keeps shouting, telling this maniac to focus. Beating Yangi was already a huge problem, so why did he have to announce himself too? John corrects him. Yangi isn't dead. Hugo freezes. What? He says, technically he's alive, but not really living. Hugo is completely stunned as the protagonist presents the answer. Tada. This is Yang Wei. He holds up a teddy bear and the bear is sweating. From inside it, Yang Wei curses John. Hugo can't believe it and asks if that really is Yangi. From inside the bear, Yang Wei screams for MC to let him out. He explains that the battle made his abilities grow a lot. Now he can suppress Yangi's soul. He talks to the bear like it's being naughty while Yangi just keeps trembling inside. Hugo asks if something like that is even possible. John brushes that off and tells him to look at something else, handing him an orange peeler. Hugo has no idea what he's looking at, so the protagonist explains that this is the orange peeler used to carve into his back in the Devil's Tower. The person who tried to kill him used this, and from the engraving it doesn't seem like it belonged to just anyone. Hugo asks if John has any idea who it might have been, but MC barely listens and keeps yanking on the teddy bear that now holds Yang Wei. He says he's going to stop by the Divine Artifact store for a while. Hugo asks why. John says maybe the person working there has seen those engravings somewhere before. Then the mood softens a bit as the protagonist asks to borrow some clothes and Hugo tells him he can wear anything in the closet. The scene changes again. Now dressed up in style, John says he'll leave servant number 2 at home this time. That makes Hugo stop and ask number 2. So there's a number 1. MC says he'll be back. Servant number 1, meaning Hugo. Hugo fumes while Yangi, trapped in the teddy bear, grins at him. The story then moves back to the place where he fought Piku. A group of sharply dressed women arrives and starts looking around. One says, the Saint of Ares isn't here either, and she can't sense his divine power at all. Then it cuts to someone calmly taking a bath, wondering where he could have gone. She is the Aquarius Saint Sophie Morty. Maybe he vanished along with all his wealth. She says that would be troublesome, especially if he made a deal with another saint behind her back. She wants to know where that fat man went. One of the others carefully suggests that maybe the newly returned lion kidnapped Yang Wei. At that, Sophie just smiles. She calmly says, those jokes aren't funny, and starts drowning the other woman under the bath water without changing her expression. Terrified, the woman quickly apologizes and says she spoke out of turn. Sophie lets it pass and tells her to go to the Divine Artifact store as planned. She says they need to get ready to sell divine artifacts and raise money for the drama auction since that auction is very important. But while she's saying that, another bodyguard rushes in shouting that there's a huge problem. The other saints have also applied to join the drama auction. Hearing that, she's shocked and blurts out,